You'll notice our next topic covers calculating costs for a motorcycle. This is very important to you individuals, as you may come across a time where you may want to purchase a vehicle. You'll notice for this specific file, we have a number of assumptions provided to us. Let's go through them. A motorcycle whose selling price is above $50,000 uses premium gasoline, which is 25 cents more per gallon than regular. So within cell K11, we have our $50,000. Within cell L11, we have posted our 25 cents extra if we need premium gasoline. Our next assumption is that the cost of maintenance is 1 cent per mile for the first 20,000 miles and 5 cents per mile driven after 20,000 miles. So you'll notice within the cell K12 is 1 cent and L12 is 5 cents. You'll notice within the cell J12 we have our 20,000 miles listed. Our next assumption is if the motorcycle is not used, there's a flat maintenance cost of $100. So within our cell J13 we have added $100. Next, we have insurance costs identified as follows. Any purchase price under $15,000 will require $1,000 in annual insurance. Any purchase price between $15,000 and $24,999 will be $2,100, and so on and so forth. You will notice we only make one payment per year on our motorcycle, and there is no interest on these payments. Another assumption is that we will drive 15,000 miles per year and that the regular cost of gas is $2.65 per gallon. And we will pay off our motorcycle within 5 years. So within cell J23, we have our 15,000 miles. Within J24, we have our $2.65. And within J25, we have our 5 years. So first, let's start with our years to pay off column. You'll notice all of them are already listed as 5. So how do we do this? Well, we use what is called an absolute cell reference, where we go back and we rely on cell J25. This means anytime we change the number within J25, it will change within this cell due to the absolute cell reference. In order to utilize an absolute cell reference, we need dollar signs before each of our row and column. So in this case, it is $J, $25. And I've already dragged down the formula for you to represent all 4 motorcycles having 5 years to pay off. Similarly, for the number of miles per year, we've done a cell reference to the 15,000 miles, which is back in our cell J23. You'll notice again the absolute cell reference with the dollar sign. So what does this mean? Well, this means all of our costs of maintenance will be utilizing the 1 cent per mile because we are using under 20,000 miles. So let's go through and calculate what we need to understand. Fuel costs. How would we understand how to calculate fuel costs? First, we need to utilize our miles per year. Then, we need to multiply that by our cost of gas, which at this point we have not yet determined, but it is fairly easy to determine our cost of gas. We then need to divide this by our miles per gallon, which is already provided for you in column D. You'll notice that our current fuel costs are listed as $0. That is because we need to determine our cost of gas in order to make that cell populate with an accurate number. Let's autofill down to fill the fuel cost formula within all 4 of our specific motorcycles. Next, how do we calculate our maintenance cost? Well, again, we need to utilize an absolute cell reference. We refer back to K12 because we are under 20,000 miles. So we only use the 1 cent per mile. We make this an absolute cell reference by adding dollar signs before the row and column. And we need to multiply this by something. Well, we multiply it by our number of miles per year. You'll notice a value of $150. We autofill down and we notice that it is the same for each of our motorcycles because each motorcycle is utilizing the same amount of miles per year. Next, how do we calculate our insurance? We need to refer down to our table. So for our Ducati, the purchase price is $8,000, which is featured as $1,000 of annual insurance. So we reference cell C16 for that information, $1,000. Next, our Aprilia, our purchase price is $22,000, which is in the second annual insurance column. So we now reference C17. Our Kawasaki is $32,000 and is within our third annual insurance section, which references C18. And finally, our Harley is our most expensive and is the C19 insurance. We have now calculated our insurance costs. So now let's go back and reference our cost of gas. So you'll notice the first assumption we made is if the price of the motorcycle is above $50,000, we use premium gasoline, which is 25 cents more than the $2.65 we had previously. So you could say, oh, the cost of gas is just going to be $2.65, and type it in for the first three, and then type in $2.65 plus the 25 cents, and call it a day. But let's do it the correct way. Let's utilize an if function. So we want to determine whether or not our purchase price is less than $50,000. But again, we want this to be an absolute cell reference. So if we change that assumption later on, it doesn't matter that it's changed because we are absolutely referencing that cell, which helps us complete our task. So what do we want to post if it's true? If our assumption is true, we want to utilize our $2.65. But again, make sure this is referenced as an absolute cell reference. So if anything is changed within that cell, it does not affect our formulas. What do we want to post if the value is false? We want to again reference J24 as an absolute, but we need to add something to it. And that is our 25 cents, because the premium gasoline costs 25 cents extra. So we refer to that L11 cell as an absolute as well, which gives us $2.09, which is our 265 plus the 25 cents. So once we click OK, you'll notice the 265 populates because the Ducati costs less than $50,000. When we autofill down, you'll notice something. Our formula is correct because only the Harley-Davidson which has a purchase price greater than $50,000, has the premium extra 25-cent cost. So how do we calculate our total cost? Our total cost adds our initial purchase price, our fuel costs, our maintenance costs, and our insurance costs. Well, what else do we need to do? This just provides us our cost for 1 year. We need to multiply this by our assumption of 5 years, which is down in cell J25. And you'll notice here that cell references, absolute cell references, are where it's at when we change this formula to refer to J25 as an absolute cell reference. Because once I enter, we have our total cost. To pay off the purchase price of the Ducati over the course of 5 years will cost you 50,000 grand. When we autofill this down, you will notice some of the information does not fit. So we click on this column, we go back to our Home tab, where it says Cells, click Format, Auto Fit Column Width. This now expands the column width to fit all of our information. When we click down into our next cell, you will notice the only thing changed is the information represented in our costs. The same is done for the other 2 cells. That is the importance of an absolute cell reference, so that all of the cells can change in the formula that need to be changed, but one that stays constant remains a constant within that formula. So now how do we calculate our average cost? We divide our L3, the total cost, by our years to pay off. We do not need an absolute cell reference here for the years to pay off because we already have it featured within the I column. We hit enter, we get our value, a little over 10,000. We autofill down for all 4 of our motorcycles. We then need to determine what our payments are going to be for each of these 5 years. So we use a financial function some of you may have heard of called present value. This formula requires 3 specific function arguments for us. A rate, which is the interest rate, NPER, which is our number of payments, and the payment itself. So here our rate is 0% because our assumption told us that there is no interest. Our number of payments is 5 because we are making 1 payment a year in accordance to our assumptions. So what is the payment? Our payment is our average cost, what we are going to pay each year. So when you click OK, you will notice something. Our response is in red coloring. This means it is a negative number because you are losing that much money. You're paying that much money, so you are losing it. You're paying it out. You'll notice another thing. Our answer in E3, the payment, is the inverse of our total cost. As you drag the formula through, you'll notice, again, that the information may be too small to fit within our column. So we need to auto-fit our column width again. And again, you'll notice that they are the inverse of our total cost. Because in our total cost, we are just calculating the cost we pay over those 5 years. Within the payment section, we are assuming that we are paying out this specific amount of money. over the course of those 5 years.